Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. For today, we're going to start off with a review of information that I've presented over the last 8 months and look at some new information that gives us some significant clues about what's going on at the north end of the site. So let's get ready to discuss. On my 25 November 2022 video, I showed you this permit that was filed with the city of Austin at that time, and it was for a north inbound logistics lot. And this map gave you the approximate location and that area number 1 where this would most likely be. I also showed you the updated site plan document. You can see a page on the upper left. This image with the outline of the approximate location of where this lot would be constructed. And from the permit, we see it was 166 acres or about 68 hectares. It includes a warehouse and associated improvements, and it's very far north of the main factory. I also showed at that time there were soil strength test bores being taken throughout this entire area, and this is most likely in preparation for the final engineering design of this structure. And this is a quick image showing fairly recently, just on the 28th of June, what this site looked like. A lot of materials being stored up there right now, but otherwise not a whole lot of activity. Now let's fast forward to my 18 June 2023 video where we discussed some reports I was getting about survey crews in this location, as you can see in the map, for tree surveying. And they were marking many of the trees and doing a lot of surveying in this particular area. It was strange because there's no construction that was going on at that time. And so I wasn't really sure what to make of it. Here's 2 images of some of the trees that were marked with survey markers and also some of the ribbons. And again, it was kind of a mystery at the time of why this would be taking place. Not 2 weeks later, on my 28 June 2023 video, we discussed some reports that I was getting about activity up at this old farmhouse on the extreme far north of the site. And here's some images of what it looked like at that time. Now, I went up and flew, and I didn't really see a whole lot, but recently, on the 31st of July, I got some additional information from a reliable source saying that the farmhouse is having the asbestos inside removed so that they can turn this into a Giga Texas security outpost. Very interesting piece of information. So if we put the information together from these 3 videos, it paints an interesting picture, but it doesn't really give us a whole lot of details. We need some more information. And fortunately, I just received several pieces of information that really help put these pieces together and lets us know what to expect in the north side of Giga Texas. So let's discuss further. Just recently, on the 21st of July, local residents in this area were provided another notification from the city of Austin about this construction project for a transportation and associated improvements in this area, and noted that the decision for this permit would not be made until the 4th of August 2023, which gave 14 days notice to the residents. Also, inputs by interested parties as defined by the notification are due in writing to the city of Austin no later than the 11th of August 2023. And I've looked up the permit for this based on the information in the note. Here it is. You can see that it's for a street and drainage, and it was filed on the 26th of June 2023. And also there's the link at the bottom of the screen. It'll be in the video description if you want to take a look at more information. Now, this information is great, but fortunately the letter also came with a map showing exactly where this road would be constructed. You can see the map on the right-hand side of the screen. I've highlighted it for you here. It basically connects the frontage road for State Highway 130 on the left all the way over to the residential area on the bottom right. I took the map that I have of the overall Tesla property, as you can see on the left-hand side, and I'm overlaying where this is located and how this is all going to shape up with all the previous information. You can see the location of the road on the map. Here is the area where the tree survey was being done, kind of in that southeast corner near where those houses are located. And here is the North Logistics permitted site location that we discussed way back in November, and how this is related to that road. And finally, here is the location of the old farmhouse that we have source information saying that it's being converted into a security outpost. And this would be really great for monitoring the access to this site, especially for construction. This overall image puts it all back together again so you can see exactly how this is located and where it is located in relation to the battery cathode plant and also the main factory. So there you have it, putting some of the puzzle pieces together over the last 8 months with some new information, and I hope that you found this informative and helpful. And finally, one more piece of information. As you can see here, Senator John Cornyn visited Giga Texas on the 31st of July. He got a chance to get into a Cybertruck, talk with Elon Musk, and tour the factory. We also got treated to this very interesting walk-around video by Jesse Saltz. He posted it on Twitter. This is on the east side of the building, next to that secondary main entrance. This is a really great view around the entire Cybertruck. I believe this is one of the release candidate vehicles that has been produced here at Giga Texas. So really great to see this. Just to give you context, this is a picture that I took on the 31st showing exactly where this video was taken. So I hope that you enjoyed those reviews and also all that information. So let's get into the drone and take a look at how Giga Texas looks like today. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. So this morning we're starting off on the very far north section of the factory and the site. I'm going to show you this large field, a lot of the materials being stored here. Also, this is the location, as we talked in the intro, where the North Logistics facility and warehouse is permitted. Also, right through this particular area is where that new road will be going. And at the middle right-hand side of the screen, you can actually see that old farmhouse that's going to be that security outpost that we also discussed in the video intro. Now you can see the hills and ponds through this section. That's going to have to be traversed by that new road. So a lot of ground preparation is going to happen in this particular area. So that'll be something that I will be looking for after the permit process is complete, the city of Austin approves, and then work may be able to begin. So maybe in the next few weeks. We can see here the rental lot and also maintenance and where this is located in relation to the building. We can also see some excavation going on amongst the trees on the very far right. Now I'm pulling away because I want to show you where that road would start right around in this location. This is also the trees in this area that have been surveyed that we talked about in the video introduction as well. And as I fly over the trees, this gives you a good idea of what this terrain kind of looks like. There's some ponds off to the left. And as I continue to move towards the right, we're going to see in amongst the trees that there's some clearing that's going on here. And unfortunately, just right behind the drone is also where excavation work is going on. But you can see how the trees are being thinned out here, some of the debris of the trees off to the left. And this entire section is starting to get much wider. And I don't know if there's going to be construction in this section, but it really looks like they are doing so, or at least preparing. We can also see where now, instead of the hill, we're starting to get a kind of a big excavation here, and all of the center dump trucks are picking up all the dirt and they're moving it over to the west side. And we're going to get a good view of what the activity is on the west side of the highway later on. But anyway, a lot of changes up here at the north. As we fly to the west side of the battery cathode plant and the die shop just directly ahead of us, you can see how they're continuing to widen this section. And this whole area is just getting prepared, it looks like, maybe for some additional construction in the near future. Here's a good look with the lighting inside where the glass is on the north end of the battery cathode plant and all the receiving doors and that apron area. Looks like still a little bit of more work being done right at the base of those doors, but continues to be a lot of progress here. Now, next to the cell test lab structure, we can see excavation work. They're watering down the dirt to help with this process. This is all where underground steel corrugated pipe for the storm water management system is being finished up, and all of the trenches are being filled in as well. As we continue to fly towards the south, this is that wade pit. We talked about that in my previous video. Looks like most of the formwork in this center section for the walls is just waiting for either the concrete to cure or concrete to be poured. It's kind of hard to tell for sure here, but otherwise, almost this entire structure with the walls and the slab and the drains is completed. As I continue to fly further to the south and look back at the battery cathode plant, you get a chance to see some of the activity and how that looks today. Some of the wall openings have been filled in. And then here is the crash test track and how it looks today. You can see that center kind of depression, some of the white pipe sticking up, also this rounded top structure. Some people call it a Quonset hut. That's not completely accurate. It's very similar, but in this case, it's on raised walls. And it looks like it's nearing the end point here of where that structure roof will go, but I'll see how much farther it continues. On the ground here, we see this yellow moisture barrier, another section getting ready for rebar and concrete work. And also in the slab section between the walls, we can see that underground vault getting more rebar ready for concrete. This crane, the lifting red items, and then the rail system is all getting ready for two big deliveries. Those just happened today, and I will show you them a little later in the video. They were in the staging yard getting ready to move over here at the time of my flight. But this gives you another quick look down at the activity here, getting this already up for the deliveries so that they can be moved inside. They're very large items, as we would expect with this crane and those spreader bars. As I fly up over the building, I'll look down into the alleyway, give you an idea of what activity is going on in here. Some of the work with the conduit, you can see the crew is actively with those spools, and they are putting in wires throughout the conduit in many different sections of the site today. So very cool to see. Now I'll bring the drone down a little lower into the alleyway. On the left, you can see those 3 tanks still waiting for installation. We fly over the nitrogen system with the vaporizers. We see those 2 stainless steel tanks that have been installed, similar to the 2 on the northeast waiting for installation, and then all the work here on the roof of the chiller plant. As I continue to fly on this west side, I'll turn the drone around. I just want to give you a good sense of how this whole area is being excavated, the berms being removed, this area is being widened, and just how much it's encroaching into the Martin Marietta batch plant now. And as you can tell, there's more work going on here. It looks like it may be a trench. This might be related to that black HDPE treated water pipe, since it terminates just at the end of this road. And a good view of the west side here of the die shop and how it looks today. I wanted to briefly give you a look at this north now overflow parking lot for employees and how it looks today. Also on the right hand side of the screen, this is the TKS paint system items. It looks like another large section of a dip tank, most likely for e-coating, which is kind of like a primer before they would put the paint on. But you can see it on that orange truck that just got delivered, and there's been several of those. And I also mentioned over at the cathode plant that there were 2 large deliveries that the crane was getting ready for. Well, here they are. And I'll bring the drone down low, give you a good close-in look at this. But it looks like the equipment's already mounted onto the platforms. And these will be lifted by the crane, put onto the rail system, and then moved inside that section of the battery cathode plant. So very cool to see these huge items being delivered and getting ready for installation. As we cross over Tesla Road, we get a good look at some of the electrical conduit vaults and that black HDPE pipe that's being installed. And then as we fly over the temporary Tesla offices, we can see this section of storage of the pipes and vaults and other materials. And then we continue up towards the south end of the electrical switchyard, and we can see a lot more progress going on here with this underground vault. The crews are currently working to install all the formwork so that they continue to pour and finish off the roof segment. This, when it is completed, will look very similar to the other part with that white kind of trailer or control room. And you can see how they're backfilling in as well nearby. The temporary retaining wall is also being removed, at least up to the point where that white trailer is located, and that will continue once this concrete pour is completed. You can also see a good look at the conduit on the left. That will come into this vault, and then it will be routed up into those white kind of control room items as well. We can also see in the distance some very interesting developments over at the north side of the Megapack area. So I'll bring the drone up, give you a good look down at this vault, and then we're going to cross over the power lines, and I want to show you what these deliveries are. There's also a good view of the conduit, by the way, that connects the two sites. But what we're seeing here is on this one truck, that tank is an oil tank. It's for the transformer that is being delivered and installed right now in the middle of all of that steel structure. And you can kind of get a sense for the size and the weight of this based on the trailer that is being used to position this item. The one thing that they're missing at this point in time is the crane necessary to lift this up. And I think that they are just in the process of repositioning that now to get ready to do this installation. But you can really get a good sense of the scale of this large transformer that's going on that concrete pad that we saw poured and cured over the last couple of weeks. But again, take a look at this truck and just the size of this trailer. And also, if you can see some of the workers nearby, this also gives you a good idea of the scale. You can also see where those smaller slabs are. They're starting to install those smaller transformers. You can see a couple of them on the right, and they've been unwrapped with the black. So let's proceed now towards the staging yard. You can see a lot of the electrical wires ready for installation, and just a lot of great activity going at the Megapack. As we cross over Tesla Road, I'll give you a good look at this parking lot with all of the rack mounts for the castings. And also you can see crews actively preparing for more wires to be fed through all of the conduits. And this good close-in view gives you a really good look at how that is being done. You can see the wires starting to go into the conduit. This also gives you an idea of the size of the conduit. And people were wondering, why do they have to cover them and get them warm using the sun for pliability? Well, that's because these are actually very large cables, and having them warmed up really does help the crews feed that into those conduit, because they are quite large wire diameters. Here's an interesting set of deliveries that are going on here next to the 4680 battery cell production site. I mentioned that there are deliveries because there will be several other trucks with this kind of equipment arriving throughout the morning while I'm here. I was able to capture this one. But here's a close-in view, gives you an idea of what these crates look like, also the trailer that it's on, so it gives you an idea of the size and the scale, kind of an outsize large box that's bringing in a lot more equipment. And this is all going into the section of the 4680 battery production cell area where they've been replacing some of the ground slab, putting in more steel, and just adding quite a bit of structure to that area. What I'm showing you here is you can see all the pipes been removed. This has been for temporary air conditioning units that went in here and were being used to help cool one of the two large gigapresses. It may mean that with that being disconnected now, the permanent system is now installed. I'm going to bring the drone up and fly over the power lines and give you just a different perspective on this east side of the casting machine structure and how it looks today, all the castings. And again, the conduit work that's going through this one section on the bottom right looks like they're really progressing. This apron with the plumbing is still continuing to have that plumbing work before they will apply the concrete. And we just flew over the secondary east entrance where the Cybertruck was with Senator Cornyn yesterday. As I come over to this part of the site, what I want to show you is the expanding clearing and some of the ground grade work that's being done here where the multi-level parking garage will be installed. And it looks like this really is getting to the right shape and all of the grade work necessary for construction to begin. You can also see this clearing location as well and how it appears today. And as we approach to the east side of the stamping machine structure, not only can you see all the materials and how busy it is, but also take a look at the wall. As we talked about before, they've been putting the plastic on the windows, and the knockout crews that are applying the white stain have started here on the southeast corner and now are working way towards the north. And we kind of speculated about this in the last couple of videos, but here's proof that they are actually adding that white stain now on this side of the building. This is also a good view of the entire south end, the intersection, and the road work on this side near the tree belt. And it looks like all of the rebar is placed into that last remaining square section, so we should see concrete being poured here soon. And here's a good view looking at the factory from this vantage point, and just again how active it is on this side of the factory. Now there are a lot of very interesting details going on here, so I'm going to fly the drone over towards where we see crews working on the roof section here now, putting the roof decking on top of this steel structure, which is part of the extension for stamping 2. It also extends the bridge crane rails for the bridge cranes within this area. But this is a really good view of the work that's going on here. Also some of the steel work and how it's progressing across this open face, that temporary kind of plastic structure inside to protect all of the stamping machines as those are being finally, the final assembly and testing is going on. As I pan the drone to the left, you can see the CFA auger pier drilling system is very active today. We have multiple concrete trucks feeding in concrete that's being poured into the bore, and then this crane that's moving towards us right now will pick up the cylindrical rebar cages and it will force it down into the bore with the concrete to make those piers. But as I kind of fly around the drilling rig here, this gives you a good idea of what this looks like, how it operates. You can see the drill is actively making a bore right now. In fact, it's kind of pulling the dirt out at the moment. And then the concrete trucks with the pipe, which you can see kind of going up onto that kind of the structure that's holding up the drill, and then it will be injected into the bore, and then again the steel cage. Since we're here at the lower altitude, I'll give you a good look into the west bay of the stamping 2. It looks like the weights that were on the bridge crane doing the calibration have been removed, so it must have passed that test. Now here's something interesting. You can see the temporary wall panels being removed now here around where these two openings are, and this is where that temporary loading platform used to be. And these panels are actually not concrete where these are being removed. They were just temporary. In addition to that, as we fly along this section with all of the windows removed and that kind of a temporary plastic wall inside to protect while the wall panels are removed. Speaking of which, the crews are actually preparing to start removing wall panels right here. It looks to me like the worker is using something like a sawzall to cut some of the connections, the welded on steel connections for the wall panel, and there'll be several of those that hold the wall panel on. Once those are all cut, then as you can see, the crane has already got the wall panel ready for lifting. It'll lift it off and they'll continue. Now what is interesting is it looks like they are starting at least at this part of the building at the lower section of the walls. And on my previous video, I looked up at the roof to see if they were removing any of the roof membrane or decking, and they have not started that yet, so pretty interesting. Over here next to the well, we can see all the windows on these racks. These are the windows that were removed. They're all being stored here away from the work on the wall panel removal. A lot more deliveries here at both of these loading platforms, and equipment being loaded up to both of them. It just seems to be never stopping right now. And again, that's a great sign as they build out more of the capacity for general assembly. So let's get ready to fly across the road and take a look at some major developments there today. There's a lot of details on this side and a lot of activity, so I'll try to go through it fairly quickly. What we see here at the middle of the screen is the rebar cages that have been fashioned. They also have the projections or the mounts already made for the footings for the columns, which is pretty cool, because what they're doing right now in this section where as we know now, the end-of-line permanent structure will be built, is instead of putting piers in the ground here, they are just excavating the footings and they're putting those rebar cages directly into this section. Also looks like there's a large excavation going on to the left-hand side. You can see all of the activity here with the trucks. Many of these center dump trucks are bringing the dirt in from that northeast side of the battery cathode plant. Here's a good look at the square excavations for the footings. And as I mentioned, this will be the end-of-line permanent offices and structures. And what this will be is where they do the final checkouts of the vehicles, prepare them for staging for the transportation trucks. And then this large area off to the top of the screen is where all of the vehicles will be temporarily stored until the transport trucks picks them up and then moves them off-site. So this will relocate all what we see on the east side. Here's some really good views of the trench work and also work on the footings that are going on right now. As you can see, they are putting those cages directly in. They've already got the footing kind of rebar smaller cage on top already in place, so that suggests that the pouring of concrete and then the installation of the columns will go very rapidly here. Here's another good close-in view of more of the trench work, more of the footings, and almost as fast as they are excavating the footings, they're putting in the rebar. So it's just really amazing how fast this is moving. And as I pull away, this gives you a really good view of not only that site where the structure is going to be, but on the right-hand side, the entire lot where the new car staging and transportation lot will be. Also in the distance, the West Warehouse on Wheels, the big staging lot on the right, and of course the contractor parking and that triangular section on the southwest corner. As I continue to pull away, this gives you a really good view of this entire west side. This is permitted as the West Support Facility, so that gives you kind of an idea of what this will be used for. Also, the road work going through this entire section is very obvious, and they continue to work towards the north here, kind of going from the center of the screen to the left, and that will connect into Tesla Road. And of course, more of the steel being stored at this part of the site as well, and Tesla Road widening efforts at the bottom of the screen. I hope you enjoyed this video and everything that we saw. Again, thank you for your support. I hope you have a great day. Take care.